Hello and welcome to The Current. There are 40 days until Election Day. I'm Sophie Flay. Thanks for joining us live.
And I'm Hannah Vega. On today's show, we'll be speaking with a panel of students from the USC Muslim Students Union. If there's anything you'd like us to ask them, ask your questions in the comment section of Facebook Live. Let's get you up to date with today's headlines. Today, start with Newsweek. They released a story claiming one of Donald Trump's companies violated the United States embargo against Cuba. The article says that the company illegally conducted business with communist-controlled Cuba in 1998. At the time, the U.S. had a strict ban on trade with Cuba. The Trump campaign has not responded. The LA Times also led with a story criticizing the Republican nominee. It says that employees at his California golf club were told to fire women who weren't attractive and made inappropriate comments towards female employees at his Rancho Palos Verdes golf resort. In a deposition from a lawsuit filed against the Trump National Golf Club in 2012, a former manager says, "I witnessed Donald Trump tell managers many times while he was visiting the club that restaurant hostesses were not pretty enough and that they should be fired and replaced with more attractive women." In a statement to the Times, a Trump Organization attorney called the allegations meritless. The majority of the lawsuit was settled in 2013 when the golf course management agreed to pay $475,000. However, they were never admitted to any wrongdoing. In response to the news, some Trump supporters took up the hashtag Clinton scandals, which was trending nationally on Twitter earlier today. Most of the tweets referenced earlier scandals involving the secretary. So if we'll pull up here, you see here is our Twitter timeline. A lot of people hashtagging, people bringing up Bill Clinton's past indiscretions. But here at The Current, we're going to be bringing you some more voices. So you're going to hear from other stories, different student groups. Every week we're going to be featuring them. So tonight we'll be speaking with 3 Trojans from USC Muslim Student Union on their thoughts of the election. Sophie Flay and Erica Lee are live in the Media Center with our guests.
Thanks, Hannah, and thank you to our panel for being here. We have Tala, Noha, and Muhammad Yusuf. So they are from the Muslim Student Union. Guys, thank you so much for being here. So how closely have you been following the election, and will you be voting?
I've been following this election literally since like early 2015 because it was my 12th grade senior project for one of my classes was to follow the election, and I was assigned Bernie Sanders. So I've been following it for a really long time and very closely. I follow like 10, maybe 15 news channels on Facebook.
Okay.
So I read the news all the time.
Okay, so who will you be voting for?
I'd rather abstain from saying who I'm going to be voting
Okay.
for, simply because I think that we often pick sides in who we're choosing as like part of our identity. I think this should be really more of an inward reflection, in that we should be stopping that conversation of sides and by like keeping it bipolar. But I will be saying I will not be voting for the person who said that we're going to be like not allowing Muslims into the country, simply because that's just a big issue that I'm obviously interested in.
Right, how about you guys?
I'm also not going to disclose, mainly because I simply don't know who I'm going to be voting for.
Okay.
My only answer currently is that I will also not be voting for Mr. Trump.
As my colleagues have expressed, this election has obviously put a lot of Muslims in this position in which we are in a situation of uncertainty. So I too will not be disclosing who I'll be voting for, mostly because I also am not 100% certain as for whom I will be voting.
Okay, fair enough.
So there's been a lot of talk about terrorism, especially after the recent bombings in New York and New Jersey. How has that dialogue made you feel as a Muslim?
Well, I feel like this dialogue, it's very hurtful in the sense that in a lot of these discussions, there's a lot of binary in that when this conversation, it's Islam versus America. But I'm an American, I'm a Muslim, and I'm also a human being. So when attacks like these happen, besides being an American, just as a human being, these things devastate me.
I would have also add that while this is really devastating for every American and everyone in the world, I would like to add that the conversation around the terrorist bombings has been really focused on what can Muslims do as a security issue. Will we be a threat, or will we be the front lines? So I think the fact that we have this different binary simply doesn't humanize Muslims in America enough.
I kind of side with Mohammed Yusuf and Talha on this because I think that currently the conversation is bipolar, but more than that, it paints Muslims as an other that is to be feared, which really cuts off most of the conversation that there are like 1.9 billion Muslims in this world,
Right.
and like not even 1% are what we call extremist. So to paint with a broad stroke that we're all one is absurd to me, and it frustrates me because that's not me, that's not anyone I know, that's not anyone on this campus, I believe. So I think it's frustrating as a Muslim to hear that kind of rhetoric and not knowing how to correct it. You feel powerless, I'd say.
Right.
Thank you so much. Also, many Muslims at USC have expressed that the campaign rhetoric has been really controversial and problematic, and that it has made them want to hide expressing their religion. Have any of you felt this way as well?
I mean, I wouldn't say I hide my religion. I wear a scarf, so I mean, like I walk into anywhere and people are like, that's a Muslim person, she's brown. And I think I wear it with a badge of pride, but I am definitely fearful. Every time I walk out my door, I'm like, I have a mental checklist of like, okay, what do I say in the event that I do get harassed on the streets? Because that is a real risk for me just walking outside.
Has that happened to you?
Not to me.
Okay.
But it's like recently in New York, for example, a pregnant hijabi woman was walking and someone hit her in the stomach and she miscarried. So it's like these things do happen. And I've
Right.
had friends who've like their classmates like pulled their hijab off them. And it's like.
At
it's like-
USC?
Not at USC.
Okay, good.
But it's like, the thing is, it happens. It doesn't happen to me. It hasn't happened to me. I hope it never does, but it doesn't negate the fact that it does happen. And it's something I always have to constantly be aware of. But I think at the same time, it's like when your identity is under attack, you hold on to it more.
Right.
So I think I've become more proud of being Muslim for that. In a really weird way, it's kind of like probably made me a better, stronger person. It's just I'd rather not have gone through this.
Right, of course.
Like, channel.
Right. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. And thank you to everyone for answering our questions.
Thank you so much.
Syrian refugees have become an issue in the presidential campaign. But what's behind the story? I break it down for you here. Syria has been in a civil war for 5 years. So far, more than 250,000 Syrians have died. Before the war, the population was about 23 million, but almost 5 million have fled. Another 6.5 million Syrians are still in the country but have lost their homes, and more than half of Syrian refugees are children. Turkey, Lebanon, and Jordan have taken in the most refugees. There are more than 600,000 registered Syrian refugees in the European Union, Norway, and Switzerland. This has caused political tension. So far, the U.S. has taken in 10,000 refugees. The top destinations are Michigan and California. Hillary Clinton said that the U.S. should allow 65,000 refugees. That would be a little more than 1% of the total number of Syrians who have fled. All refugees in the U.S. are vetted before admission. Donald Trump has said that the U.S. should not let in any Syrian refugees. He also criticized Clinton's proposal. The fact-checking organization PolitiFact says Trump's characterizations of Hillary Clinton's stances on refugees is false. Every week on The Current, we'll do our best to explain an important issue. Let us know what we should tackle next. Turning now to our state politics, our reporter Gabby Vidal has an update on a bill that will affect a lot of young people.
Starting January 1st, 2017, pharmacies in California will be required to give women 12 months of birth control prescriptions in just one visit. But this isn't just good news for women, it's especially great news for students.
Beginning next year, women in California will now have one less thing to worry about.
In California, women are celebrating their latest victory in legislation. Beginning in 2017, women will be able to access up to 12 months' supply of birth control. That's thanks to Senate Bill 999, which Governor Jerry Brown signed Friday.
This is a respect bill. This is a common sense bill.
Supporters say an annual supply of contraceptives will reduce unwanted pregnancies by 30%. But beyond preventative measures, this bill will make sure women who are on the pill do not risk breaking their routine.
You're not allowed to miss these. This is not like other medication, and it has to be consistent and uninterrupted to be effective.
Keeping a consistent routine under control may be a lot harder these days for women, especially students who are constantly on the move. Leaders of the bill say women should not be expected to go to a clinic or make an appointment every time they need contraceptives. For women on college campuses, one less visit to their local pharmacy may make a difference in their busy schedule.
It's really hard to sometimes to make the time to go do it, and it's just taking a step further.
It can be even harder for students like Melissa Martinez, who couldn't consistently access birth control in another country.
I wasn't allowed more than 2 months worth of prescription, and so when I was abroad, this was a huge issue in terms of getting access to birth control.
California is currently one of 3 states that offer birth control without a prescription. The other 2 are Oregon and Washington.
Wow, I think, this is really, especially college students, is really, going to be affected by this because a lot of people go home to see doctors, and sometimes when they're at school, they don't go. What do you think, Gabby?
I mean, I think it's especially important for people who don't have transportation access. Like, getting these prescription pills just because there's a CVS nearby doesn't mean we all have the time to go do it. And especially for people who will start doing it and then they come up with a busy schedule and all of a sudden they're like, oh, maybe I'll go tomorrow, maybe I'll go the next day. But these aren't the type of pills that you can avoid day after day. It's very important to just stay on that consistent routine.
So what do you think this is going to do? Do you think this is going to be a good thing for women on birth control?
I think it will be definitely good. I think that for a woman like myself who formerly was on birth control, I can understand why it can be hard for people to not stay consistent on it, especially students who study abroad. Just having that access to it is really important. And I think that perhaps maybe this bill, this legislation, since it's only offered in 2 other states, may be good example for other places in order to sort of keep this moving, keep this prescription sort of on a rise in other places as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Gabby. So now we're getting back to Erica on national politics.
According to a recent Quinnipiac poll, Donald Trump has the support of only 34% of young voters. In fact, he's so unpopular, some students at USC say they've been harassed for showing their support publicly.
One instance in particular that I got shamed was I actually had a flag in my room, a Trump flag, and someone actually broke into my room, stole the flag, spray painted it, and put it in a toilet stall.
The sad truth is there's too many times for me to just think of one incident. I've gone to a lot of rallies, but what I can think of the most is I've gotten so many people who have defriended me off of Facebook, off of what I've posted, that I've stopped posting anything that I've wanted to post.
Trump will have his chance to make his pitch to young voters again in the next debate on October 9th.
The vice presidential candidates will be debating for the first time on Wednesday. We wanted to know how much of a difference the vice president makes to voters. So we asked students to identify the candidates, and it didn't go very well. Okay, can you guess the vice presidential candidate, the libertarian candidate, and the random suburban dad?
No. So that's Tim Cook, that's Gary Johnson, the independent candidate, and that's the dad.
Vice president, libertarian, random suburban dad.
Oh no, you were wrong. I'm sorry.
That one is the libertarian president candidate. That one's the dad, and that one's the other one.
Vice president candidate, suburban dad, and libertarian candidate.
Close. You switched these two. Vice presidential candidate, libertarian candidate, suburban dad. So wrong.
Libertarian candidate. This vice president is going to hurt me. Vice presidential random dad.
You got it right. So let's clear up any misconceptions about Tim Kaine and Mike Pence. Tim Kaine is the Democratic senator from Virginia. He supports immigration reform and is an advocate of free trade. Kaine also supports efforts for gun control. On the Republican side, the vice presidential nominee, Mike Pence, is the governor of Indiana. He was an early advocate for the Tea Party. He's socially conservative and opposes abortion and gay marriage. The Libertarian presidential nominee is Gary Johnson, who is also on our poster. He was a Republican governor of New Mexico. He is socially liberal and fiscally conservative. Johnson also supports the legalization of marijuana. You can catch our coverage of the vice presidential debate next Wednesday right here. And thanks for watching and participating in the current. From everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Sophie Fly.
And I'm Hannah Vega. You can watch us on the web at uscannenbergmedia.com and on our USC Annenberg Media Facebook page. Let us know what you'd like to see next. Good night.